Okay, good morning, students. Hello, everyone. How are you? I hope you all will be fine. Okay, so let us start with chapter number 4. We are supposed to continue from where we have stopped. Okay, so I am supposed to continue from page number 32, medieval literature, and in that, first, second, third paragraph. Okay, now the development of Indian languages and composition got a promotion in Delhi Sultanate. Means they got the importance in Delhi Sultanate. Two forms of Delhi language, Khadi Boli and Brij Bhasha, began to be used for writing literature. These were the two languages on the base of which the literature began to be written. Many devotional songs, devotional means related to God. Songs were composed in these languages. Many heroic poem means poem that is showing or making you hear the bravery of the kings and queens and fighters and everything. So poems and stories were composed in Rajasthani languages, which is similar to Hindi and Gujarati. The heroic works like Alha, Udal and Visaldev Raso were popular at that time. A book called Chandrayaan, written by Mullah Dawood, is the oldest book in Awadhi language. However, the critical appreciation of the ancient book was still written in Sanskrit languages. Persian was the language of court. Now there was one language which was known as a Persian language. Persian was the language of court of Delhi Sultanate. Consequently, many Persian words are seen in Indian languages. Many historians emerged out during this period. We got proper description of Indian history through Turkish writer in Persian languages. Ziauddin Barani wrote the Tarikh-e-Firoz Shahi, which gives a detailed account of region of the Khilji and Tughlaq kings. He also wrote a book on political theory called Fatwa-e-Jahangiri. The most outstanding literary figure of this period was Amir Khusro. He was a poet, historian, mystic saint and composer of music. He was also a disciple of Nizamuddin Aulia. He wrote the Ashika, the Na, Sifar, the Kiratul Sadiyan, the Khazin-ul Fateh and several other works of poetry. He took great pride of his being an Indian and praised India as the earthly paradise. He praised India's flora and fauna, its beauty, its building, its knowledge and learning. He strongly believed that in many respects, the essence of Hinduism resembled Islam. He considered Hindavali, the Hindi spoken around the region of Delhi, his mother tongue and composed many verses in it. He composed verses in many languages, verses mean mantras. He wrote a number of bilingual quatrains and verses in Hindi and Persian languages. The healthy tradition started by him continued for centuries after him. So the regional king gave a great impetus to regional languages and literature. Means those who were the king in their own religion, in their own region, whatever the language was famous, they were supposed to give the maximum importance over there. Bhakti saints preached in the languages of the people. Many of them, like Kabir, were great poets. Bhojpuri and Awadhi were the major dialects during those days. The works of the Kabir are chiefly composed in Sadhu Khadi. Among the Kabir Dohas have become a part of folklore. Malik Muhammad Jiyasi wrote Padmavati in Awadhi. There are many other poets of Awadh in this period. Moreover, the well-known Ramcharitmanas by Tulsidas was written in Awadhi language. There were many other writers of Awadhi language also. Besides Hindi language, literature in other languages also developed. In Bengali, the Ramayana by Kritavasa and the 100 of lyrics by the famous poet Chandidas were written under the patronage of the ruler. With saints Chaitanya's, the tradition of writing devotional songs began. Narsi Mehta wrote devotional songs in Gujarati and Namdev and Saint Eknath in Marathi. There were important developments in Kashmir under Zainuluddin, under whose patronage many Sanskrit works like the Mahabharata and Raj Tarangiri were translated into Persian. Means whichever the books were written Hindi or any languages, they all are available in Hindi, Gujarati, English, Sanskrit, Marathi, Urdu. In each and every language it is available. So in the time of kings of Vijayanagar, Sanskrit literature continued to develop. However, this was an important period of the growth of Telugu literature. Raja Krishna Deva Raya, the great king of Vijayanagar, was also a Telugu and Sanskrit writer. He wrote the Amukta Malayad. As in art and architecture, the Mughal period also saw a great development in literature. Babur, the first Mughal ruler, was one of the pioneers of Turkish poetry and also the author of a very valuable autobiography, Tuzuke Babur in Turkish, which was later translated into Persian entitled as Baburnama. Gulbadan Begum, sister of Emperor Humayun, wrote Humayunama. Jahangir wrote his great autobiography, the Tuzuke Jahangiri. Underline this all things, I repeat. Gulbadan Begum, sister of Emperor Humayun, she wrote Humayunama. Jahangir wrote Tuzuke Jahangiri. Aurangzeb also was a prolific writer, and the last Mughal emperor, Bahadur Shah, was also a notable Urdu poet. Bahadur Shah Zafar was the last Mughal emperor. Also underline this. Hindi literature made significant progress during Akbar's time. Tulsidas and Surdas wrote in this period. The great poet Keshavdas wrote on love and separation. Rahim's dohas are still popular all over the world, all over India. Many noteworthy books were written during this period. Abdul Fazal wrote the Ain Akbari and the Akbarnama. Underline this. Abdul Fazal wrote Ain Akbari and Akbarnama. Ain Akbari gives detail of Indian custom, manners, religion, philosophy, economic condition, almost every aspect of the life. As a historical work, it is perhaps unparalleled. Abul Fazl's brother Faize was a great Persian poet, and he translated many Sanskrit works into Persian. Akbar had established an independent department for translation of Sanskrit works like the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, the Atharvaveda, the Bhagavad Gita, and the Panchtantra. So one of the most significant development during the medieval period was the birth of Urdu language. In medieval period, the Urdu language took place. The birth of Urdu language began. This new language soon developed into our richest modern Indian languages. It produced great poets like Wali, Mirdad, Mir Takir Mir, Nazir Akbarwadi, Abdullah Khan, Ghalib, Iqbal, and others. Urdu prose also developed in early 18th century when the translation of the most of the historical works from Sanskrit into Urdu began. Whatever thing was written into Sanskrit, they were now translated into Urdu. At the same time, original prose work in Urdu was written. Muhammad Hussain Azad's Darbare Akbari is one of the best work of Urdu language. Underline this. Muhammad Hussain Azad's Darbare Akbari is one of the best work of Urdu language. So, children, these are the names that you are supposed to remember. It can be asked in 1 mark, 2 mark, MCQ, true or false, blanks, anything. Okay? You don't have any choice. You are supposed to remember it. So the short technique is every day read this. Then only you will be able to remember this name. Otherwise, you will not be able to remember. See, this is a very simple and very common lesson. Some students are taking it very complicated. That's why they are not able to learn this. So there is nothing complicated in this. Every day you have to read it, and nowadays you have lots of time. There is no school. There are some online classes. After it, you all are free. You have lots of time. So read this lesson daily. Then only you will be able to remember all the names. Otherwise, you won't be able to remember. Okay. So now this information gets over here. Now we are supposed to start with universities. Means in olden time. I told you in ancient time, people from out of India were coming to India. Means from foreign they were supposed to come to India to learn, for the studies. And nowadays what we are doing, we are going out of India. We are going out of state to learn. Okay, as at somewhere, some place, things are not available. But still there are some universities where people from other countries come to India to study. Okay, so like that, we have one Nalanda. See, ancient Nalanda was situated at Badgaon village of Patan district in Bihar. See, Nalanda University, you can see the picture of Nalanda University. You must be thinking that this type of universities that even I have not seen. So I can tell you more about, if I would have seen it practically, then would have given information about it. But what is seen in the picture, you can see that. See, the Nalanda gave more importance in Buddhist and Jain tradition. This ancient university also became pilgrimage, means Chhatranusthal of Jainism, as Mahavir Swami had performed 14 Chaturmas here. In the 5th century, Kumar Gupta had built a monastery here. Monastery means one type of a house where the saints can live. See, here is also maximum information, so just listen it carefully. Since then, fame of Nalanda had increased. Then there were thousands of priceless treasures of manuscripts. This was a pious means pavitra, holy place of Indian culture. Students from various part of the world used to come here for the study. The great traveler Hu Sang also came here. Today only the ruins of the great university, but today you can see the ruins. This is the ruins. And the ruins came. So today only the ruins of the great university. But amidst the ruins, one can visualize the glorious cultural heritage. But this ruins, Akhande, it's once upon a time it was our glorious rich heritage. A student who passed out from Nalanda was considered to be the ideal best students of India. During 5th to 11th century, education was the best in Nalanda, and in India at the time had best libraries of the world were available. Many students of India and abroad used to come for study and research in the library of Takshashila, as well as in Nalanda University. Hence, Hu Sang took 657 books from here to China. See, a Chinese traveler, he took 657 books from India and he took away to China and he learned everything from this. See how our culture was great culture. Hu Sang visited in 17th century. There were 7 huge halls, that is room sections in the university. There were 300 rooms for delivering lectures. 300 rooms were there for providing the lectures. Just imagine. Special monasteries were built for dwelling of students, for living the students. Means one type of hostels. Many villages were donated for the university's sustenance. There were many universities which were donated. That you just continue with this. We want the student here to study. Food and clothing facilities were provided free of cost from the earnings obtained from those villages. Its book repository means library was known as Dharmagunj during the 5th to 11th century. Nalanda was reputed as well as esteemed center of education. Takshashila, another university, that is Takshashila. Ancient university of Takshashila was located at Rawalpindi. Now it is in Pakistan, present in Pakistan. It was the capital of the city of the ancient Gandhar region. This university imparted education in 64 subjects. They were supposed to give the education in 64 subjects. Most of the students stayed in the ashram to practice with Guru. Maximum students were supposed to live in ashram. Jivak is a disciple, he is a student of Lord Buddha. Learned the lesson of Ayurveda here. According to the belief, the university was named after the name of Taksha. After the Taksha, the son of Bharat, it came to be known as Takshashila. Brother of Lord Rama, born in Raghukul. It was renowned education center of 7th century. Students were free to study the subjects of their interest. Whatever they like, they used to supposed to learn the subject over here. In spite of the limited allotted of 20 students per teacher, there were 20 students. Per teacher, 20 students. One teacher was supposed to teach 20 students. They used to teach even more. Students from distant cities like Varanasi, Rajgruha, Mithila and Ujjain overcrowded the university. Students from these cities were coming maximum and they overcrowded. It means maximum students were supposed to be here to study. So Princess of Varanasi and Prasenjit, the king of Kaushal, studied here. Also the great grammarian Panini and expert politician Kautilya, that is Chanakya, got education from this university. Takshashila was the best center of higher education. Normally, students used to stay with Guru to practice. Maximum, now we are going to school, going home. It was not like that. First of all, students in older times, students were supposed to live there. They were supposed to be with them. Takshashila was the best center of higher education. Normally, students used to stay with Guru to practice education of Vedas, military science, Gajvidya, archery, grammar, philosophy, war lore, astronomy, astrology were given here. Chanakya, the mentor means Guru of Chandragupta Maurya, also studied here. Chinese scholar Fa Hian visited the university in the beginning of 5th century. Varanasi, that is Kashi. Varanasi was famous as one of the places of pilgrim during 7th century. It was also the famous education center. It grew as the religious center for the Aryan culture in Upanishadic period, king of Varanasi. Ajat Shatru was a great philosopher of Upanishadic age and great supporter of the education. It is mentioned in Vyas Samhita, the Maharshi Ved Vyas had his ashram in Varanasi. Lord Buddha chose Varanasi suitable place for propagation of his preachings. Means he chose Varanasi, that it's the best place to give the education over here. Potent philosopher Adi Shankaracharya had to move to Kashi to adopt the new principles of Vedantas. Vallabhacharya and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the pioneer of Pushtimarg, attained prestige for the Varanasi Vaishnava sect in Kashi. Majority of the scholar families of Punjab had to migrate to Kashi, while a few families migrated to Kashmir. So many other princes came for education in Varanasi. Monastery at Sarnath became famous education center under the patronage of Emperor Ashoka. Emperor Ashoka was a Buddhist follower. He contributed maximum building anything related to Buddhism. And the last is the Vallabhi. The University of Gujarat was very famous center of the education in 7th century. This university was in Gujarat. There was a significant contribution of a contemporary rule of Vansh dynasty and its people to make Vallabhi a well-renowned and a huge center of education. Vidyadham, Vallabhi, was a center of a Hinayana cult of Buddhist religion. In the middle of 7th century, Buddhist scholars like Srimati and Gurmati were the leading principals of Vallabhi. The students from the distant areas of Ganga and Yamuna used to come here for higher studies. Chinese traveler, it signed noted that the Vallabhi completed with the famous education center Nalanda, which was located at eastern part of India. Now Vallabhi was a capital and international port. The ruler of Vallabhi belonged to Maitrid dynasty, and he patronized means he kept education and university as well. It is also notable that royal people of Maitrid dynasty were not Buddhist. However, they were helping the institution. In 1775 AD, Arabian attacked Maitrak were defeated and university was closed down. The name of famous scholars were written on the gate. Scholars, by showing their erudition, were getting higher rights in Raj Sabha. Knowledge, worship, and particular system of education made the university famous not only in India but also in the world of that time. Students from India and abroad used to come here for the education in this university. It means students from different countries, different states, different cities were supposed to come these 4 universities and study here. That is Nalanda, Takshashila, Varanasi and Vallabhi. So it was international university in the real sense. Almost all the branches of knowledge were taught here. It was international university. These 4, Nalanda, Takshashila, Varanasi, Vallabhi, they were the international universities. It was an international university in the real sense. Almost all the branches of knowledge were taught here. The maintenance of the university was done through charity given by the kings and landlords. Yes, still in that time also they were given the charities. From the charity work they got, from that money they were supposed to run the universities. Actually, it showed the loyalty of the people towards the university. People loyal to them. And they were teaching also in that manner. So people loyal to them. They never feel bad about them. So it was also, it was a world-renowned university of Indian education for the knowledge of arts and science, means Avidya. So children, here we have almost complete and done with our all history lessons. So this was the last history lesson that I have completed today, that is chapter number 4. Now in upcoming time, we are supposed to continue with the geography. Now I will just look at what your teachers have taught in geography. So whatever she has taught, rather than that lesson, I am going to continue from your next lecture. Okay, so in the next session, I am going to continue with the geography. And which lesson I am going to continue, that I have to just look out. Okay, so here I am just ending my session. Just go through the lesson, read it carefully, and again I repeat that this lesson is very important. If you are not going to read it daily, you won't be able to learn. So be serious about this lesson and learn it. This is very important lesson. Okay, so just take care of yourself. I'm just ending my lecture over here. Thank you very much.